All right, fifth grade, you're back for another lesson of Math Lessons with Mr. Morris, and today we're starting something brand new. We're multiplying fractions. We're going to start with two parts today, and then there'll be another video for the second installment of part 3 and part 4. So we're going to look at part 1 and part 2 today. Part 1 is going to be multiplying fractions by fractions, and part 2 is going to be multiplying fractions and whole numbers. So I want to start by saying I'm going to show you two ways to do the same problem. Okay, the first way, everything you learn for adding and subtracting fractions goes right out the window, because when we're multiplying them, it's a whole new ball game. So I want to show you, it's real simple. What you're going to do is you're going to multiply across both the top and the bottom, denominator and numerator. So you're going to go across the top, and you are going to get 6, and you're going to get 15. Okay, now 6 over 15, you have to reduce. All right, you have to simplify. So when we did simplifying, you would have to pick a number that you could divide both 6 and 5 by, and in this case, the magic number is 3. So 6 divided by 3 is going to give us 2. And 15 divided by 3 is going to give us 5. Okay, that's great. But after today, the way I want you to do it is going to be the second way, the cross-reduce way. And if you notice, the way I designed the problem is the 3's are in a different color. And why I did that is because you're going to learn to cross-reduce, and it's always in a diagonal pattern. Now, the reason I didn't touch 2 and 5 is because 2 and 5 have nothing in common that can make them become smaller. But the 3's, definite. I'm going to give you the first trick. All right, when you see 2 of the same number, 3 and 3, you can automatically make them 1's. And how you're doing that is what you're doing is you're dividing each 3 by itself. Okay, so you're dividing 3 divided by 3, which is going to give you 1, and you're going to get 3 divided by 3 down here, which is going to give you 1. So what you're left with is 2 times 1 and 1 times 5. Okay, so it would be 2 over 1 times 1 over 5. Those are my new fractions after I've cross-reduced. So I would multiply across the top, which would give me 2. I would multiply across the bottom, which would give me 5. And if you notice, we do get the same answer. But the way I want you to do it is to really get used to being good at this cross-reduce method, because it's really going to help you when we start working with larger fractions. So for the rest of the video, everything I do in here, if I can, is going to be with all cross-reducing. Okay? All right, so what I'm going to do is let me erase this board, and I'm going to get you another sample. And we're still going to be working with fractions times fractions. We're not ready for part 2 yet. Okay, just fractions times fractions. Okay, so let me give you another problem. I'm going to give you 2 over 7 times 1 over 4. Now, when you look at this, we're going to look to cross-reduce. You always look to cross-reduce. You're not always going to be able to, but in this case you can. The 2 and 4, we can come up with 2 numbers that would shrink that down. It's like simplifying, like we did earlier, but this time you're going to do it in like a diagonal method. So when I look at 2 and I look at 4, I know I can make 2 smaller by dividing it by 2. And if I can divide 2 by 2, I have to see if I can do it to the 4. And I can. 2 divided by 2 is going to give me 1. 4 divided by 2 is going to give me 2. So look what I'm left with. I'm left with the number 1 times 1 and the number 7 times 2. And that's why I circle the numbers so I can find them. Okay? All right, so I would do 1 times 1, which would give me 1, and 7 times 2, which would give me 14. Okay? If I didn't do it that way, I would have 2 7s times 1/4, which would give me 2 over 28. But then I would have to take that 2 over 28 and simplify it. And again, I would divide by 2. Half of 2 is 1. Half of 28 is 14. To me, that's too much work. I think this method, it will be better. You may not like it at first, but in the end, you'll say, yeah, you were right. It's easier. Okay, and we're going to try this. We're going to do 3 over 8 times 1/3. Okay, now you should be looking at something. Look at the diagonals. I want you to look at 8 and 1. Well, you can't do anything. There's no way you can make that smaller because you have a 1 there. But these 3's, and if you remember the first problem I showed you, when the numbers are the same diagonally, 3 and 3, you can automatically make them 1's. When you make them 1's, what you did was you divided it by itself. Okay. All right, so you have 1 times 1, which is 1. 8 times 1, which is 8. And that's your answer. Now, if you didn't do it that way and say you did it the first method, which is okay, but eventually I want you to wean yourself away from doing that. You would have gotten 3 over 24. And if you left it like that, I'd mark it wrong. You'd have to continue to reduce, which would have given you 1 and 8. And that's the first part of our video. All right, now for the second part, we're going to be talking about multiplying whole numbers and whole numbers. So I first want to show you that I'm going to put the problem up, but we're not going to do the problem first. The problem is going to read as, let's see, 3/8 times 4. But before we even address this problem, on this whole side of the paper, I'm going to give you some random whole numbers. We'll say the number is 28. We'll say a whole number of 19. We'll say a whole number of 6. A whole number of, I'll even throw a decimal in there, 3.5. And I said to you, well, you want to make these whole numbers here fractions. Real simple. It becomes 28 over 1. It becomes 19 over 1. It becomes 6 over 1. It becomes 3.5 over 1. They are equal to 28. But in this case, when we multiply fractions, they have to be in fraction form. You can't leave the whole number as the whole number. And you're going to find out once I do the first problem with you, oh my God, this is so easy. Okay, watch. Okay, all right. So all you're going to do is you're going to take this 4 and you're going to make it a fraction. So you're going to put a 1 under it. And now it becomes just a fraction times a fraction that we did in the first part. It's that simple. Okay, now, again, let's stick with that theme of cross-reducing. I want you to cross-reduce. 3 and 1, not so much. Nothing that they're related by or anything. You can make them smaller because it has a 1 there. But the 4 and 8, think of it as this, as a fraction that you would reduce by 2. Or in this case, you can reduce it by 4. Reduce by 4, reduce by 4. But let's say you only reduced it by 2. Okay? Let's say you only divided this by 2 here and the 8 by 2. The 8 would have become 4. And the 4 would have become 2. But guess what? You can still make them smaller. You can still take the 2 and divide it by 2. You keep chopping. And the 4 divided by 2. So the overall final answer, to make it as small as you can make it, is 4 divided by 2 becomes 2. And then the 2 divided by 2 becomes 1. Okay, now that looks like a mess. It looks like a lot. But let me rewrite the problem and show you what we really just did. We turned 4 into a fraction. And we divided it by 2, but I want to take the 4 and divide it by 4, and the 8 divided by 4. You'll just get there quicker. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And it kind of matches like we just had. Okay? All right, so now we got everything we need. We have, let me go to another color so you can see it better. We have 3 and we have 1. And 1 times 3 or 3 times 1 is going to give me 3. And 2 times 1 is going to give me 2. Now, that's fine, but it's improper. So 3 over 2 becomes 1 1/2, and that's our final answer. And it looks like a lot, and it looks like a mess, and it's going to take me 20 minutes just to erase this. But let's do another one, and I'll show you. And you'll eventually get it. The only way you get this math is to do it over and over and over and over and over and over again until you are so good at it, you almost don't even have to think about it. Okay, it just comes right to you. And cross-reducing is like that. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and it becomes really simple. All right, so let's try one more. Let's go 2/3 times 6. Okay, so the first step, we have to take that 6, and we've got to make it a fraction. Okay, I put a 1 under it. Okay, I put a 1 under it. And then what I want to do is I want to cross-reduce. This 6 and 3 can become smaller. I can definitely divide that 3 by 3. And I can definitely divide that 6 by 3. Okay, so when I divide that 3 by 3, it becomes 1. When I divide that 6 by 3, it becomes 2. And look what we're left with. We're left with 2 times 2 and 1 times 1. And if you want to make it easier for you to read, the new fraction becomes 2 over 1. And the new fraction on the right side becomes 2 over 1, which is going to give me 4 over 1, which gives me 4. And just to double check it, look what we're left with. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1, which gives me 4. And that's our video. All right. Let me see if I can squeeze one. No, let's not. Let's do one more. Let's try one more. Let's try let's try one more just to show you. Okay, so here we go. Let's do one more equation. I had one more written down, so let's try it. And this is going to be the easiest of all of them, and I designed it this way because here's your problem. We're going to make 7 a fraction. 7 becomes a fraction, 7 over 1. And sometimes, guys, you can't cross-reduce. There's nothing in common here. You definitely can't do anything with these 1s. And 5 and 7, they have nothing in common to make them smaller. So guess what? You're forced to do it the first way. 1 times 7 is 7. 5 times 1 is 5. Okay, it's improper. Let's make it mixed. 5 times 1 is going to give me 5. 5 times 1 is going to give me 5. And we have to get to 7. How much left over? 2. Our final answer is 1 2/5. Stick at it. Stick with it. Come for extra help. Ask a lot of questions. Let's do this. You can do it. And next video right around the corner. All right? Don't go anywhere. I'll see you for the next video. Thanks.